Here are some tips on how to be a successful online student. The first tip is to recognize the differences and the similarities between face-to-face classes and online classes. You want to recognize that the classes are different in structure and that your learning should be different as well. The material to learn and master is the same online as it is in a face-to-face class. And the same is true for other academic pieces, such as taking notes, taking tests, completing projects, etc. The only thing different is the medium and the location. You don't watch TV, watch movies, or listen to music the same way as you did a few years ago, so expect to change the way you study as well. While there are face-to-face students who are very good at time management, and student athletes and those with jobs are the first people that come to mind. But I've found successful online students are almost always great with time management. So be aware of the time you need to complete your work. Just like face-to-face classes that were an hour or an hour and 15 minutes, the same amount of time should be put aside to attend your class. And just as you put aside time to do homework, you should also put aside time to do homework. And the homework time is not considered part of your class time. Both face-to-face and online classes need a classroom. Both have 15 hours of class time per credit, and that does not include homework. So make sure you set aside time to attend class. And like everything else, habits work with you, so set aside the same day and the same time each week for class. Think of watching videos and participating in discussions as how you quote-unquote attend class. In a face-to-face lecture, the professor teaches and involves students in the discussion. The video lectures in an online class are intended to have the same outcome. Something for your eyes and your ears to pay attention to while you take notes. The discussion portion of an online class is similar to the professor asking you questions during class. These discussions allow you to apply your course knowledge to the real world. Also, set aside a different time to do your homework than from when you actually attend class and learn the material. So let's face it, some classes require more homework than other classes. So make sure you're flexible enough to adjust to that. There's also a pretty good standard that says each hour of class should have 2 hours of homework. So plan more time, not less, when it comes to homework. That will do two things. One, you'll have enough time to do your homework. I constantly have students tell me they should have put aside more time. And two, you'll be happy when you finish your work early. The amount of work you have to do for your class isn't going to change, but your perception will change, and it certainly is better for you to have extra time because you planned on it than to run short of time because you didn't plan enough time. You can also have a dedicated classroom space. This helps mentally and emotionally to get ready for class. There's a lot of research that shows students do better when they focus on having a space where only schoolwork gets done. And this helps get your brain set up in an area that you know to focus on schoolwork. Then pre-plan your projects. One of the first things freshmen are told is to set a schedule. And the same thing is true for online learning. Looking at the schedule ahead of time and setting up project dates that don't interfere with important occasions will help ensure that the projects are done and you still have time to enjoy those personal times that you need. There are equipment needs for online learning. Of course, it's a reliable computer. Well, technically you need a reliable computer and a reliable internet. But don't think of online learning the way you approach your phone. People use their phone mindlessly and switch sites when they don't feel like doing something. For online learning, you need to be disciplined and avoid distractions. For example, being efficient at your job is not answering every email as it comes into your inbox. Instead, there's a lot of research that shows people are more efficient if they set up times to do their email, like at 8:30, 11 a.m., or 3:30 and 5 o'clock p.m., etc. So when you're doing your schoolwork, Think of acting the same way. You shouldn't be doing other work when you're in the physical classroom, so don't do other work when you're in the virtual classroom. And I recognize this is a hard habit to start, but it's certainly worth the effort. You'll also need a basic understanding of the Office set of products, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, etc. If you have docs or sheets or numbers, etc., check with your professor to make sure that that's acceptable and will work in that class. Then you need some other information as well. You need to know how to find information and what information is reliable or not. Professors have information on how to use special programs or special equipment if it's required. And many of your classes may require you to submit a video, so make sure you've got that capability. But many of the classes also have a resource folder, and it should be the first folder you have in your course. It should list your syllabus and other information that will help you get started in your class. Finally, there will be times when you will not be allowed to change tabs in your browser or in your programs. This is true for tests, unless they're open book tests. So some exam programs will not allow you to change tabs, log out, etc. And if you do, you may be kicked off your browser, you may be kicked off the test. So make sure you are prepared for your exams and make sure you have enough time so you're not kicked off because you've been looking somewhere else to get the information. There's lots of evidence, and many of them come from my classes and my experience as well as published research that shows the more effort and the more time someone puts into the class, the more successful they are. But there's some details that will help you. First, write well. Your primary way of communication is through your writing. This is where the old high school adage of taking time to proofread is going to help you. Take time to carefully write your thoughts and your answers. And take notes. Students will remember better if they actually write the notes down. That can be on a tablet device or with ink, but actually there's evidence that shows using your hand in cursive or printing is better than typing your notes. Also, you've got classmates. It may seem that you're taking class by yourself, but make an effort to read the posts by other students. Each class takes on its own personality. I've been teaching online for almost 20 years, and while I've had the same students in multiple classes, the classes are never the same. Additionally, I've had students tell me that they want to take classes with other students because they've learned to work together well. These students live in different states, so it really isn't as easy for them to get together, but they've actually become friends and learned how to work together, so they make sure they take classes together. Then look for supplemental information online. The publisher of your text usually provides a student site with practice multiple choice questions. Then meet your deadlines. I'm a CPA and I work for a national firm. The SEC or the IRS doesn't allow us to be late. So I need to make sure that my students have those same habits. I don't accept late assignments. In my classes, the dates are available ahead of time. And in the 30+ years I've been teaching, I've never accepted a late assignment. It just isn't me. Most of my colleagues feel the same way. So we give you advance notice. I'm sure you're good enough to take care of it. Be active and be human. So what does it mean to be active? It just means remember your classmates and professors are human. They're doing the work at the same time that you're doing the work. It helps to remember that not just when you're writing in the discussion area, but when you're doing work late at night. So put in the effort. The students who sat in the back of the class, never took notes, and didn't study is not the student who can succeed in an online class. And of course, this is easier if you've got good self-discipline. We do take attendance as well. The Wilk Student Handbook actually allows for students to be removed from class if they don't attend class for 5 times. The same is true for online classes. It's easy to attend class. And then there's discussions. But go beyond the bare minimum. Read the instructions and the requirements for the post. It is the map for you to learn the topic. Are you to answer a specific question? Are you to respond to someone else's post with an example? No matter what the question, make sure you understand it. And if you don't, ask the professor. Don't worry about answering incorrectly, especially in the discussion area. In face-to-face classes, you don't stress over being wrong when the professor calls on you, so don't worry about it in the discussion posts. And then read others' posts. They may word their post in a way that makes it easy for you to understand and remember. And then, finally, start your post by answering the question you were asked completely. Don't just copy and paste. Not because it's obvious and plagiarism, but because you should be giving your thoughts on the topic, just like you would in a face-to-face classroom. Here's some common mistakes I know you can avoid. The first one is a personal pet peeve of mine. Don't assume the class will be easy. It seems easy enough to make that assumption. The class is online and you don't see your professor, so the assumption is distance learning is easy. But you took the class and you paid for it. You want the same education as the students in the face-to-face classes, so you should expect the same work level. In fact, your professors have to show that you learned just as much as the face-to-face classes, and they have to show that it takes the same number of hours. So expect the same rigor. Another thing is, don't skip out on the participation of your education. Education is active learning. We're providing the tools and the skills. You have to accept them, and to do that, you've got to incorporate them into your being and work with them. Think you can get away without cheating? Well, cheating is very serious, and there are many ways in which professors work to ensure this doesn't happen, or that they can catch the students who are actually silly enough to try. And perhaps the biggest mistake students can make is not asking for help. Your professor is available to help you. You only need to ask. But you do need to ask ahead of time, because just like in the face-to-face class, you can't come up with a question at 11 o'clock the night before the test and expect the professor to help you. So those are my tips for online learning and being a successful student. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm interested in tips you might have that can help other students as well.